Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the season finale in the FindingSpeed GT3 League Season 4. We're here for round 5 of the championship, the final one of the season, here at Road America to decide who our professional and our amateur champions are going to be for this season. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, once again bringing you through the action, and it is Sam Kumo working in the background, and we're hoping to be joined by Adam Thompson as well later on in the broadcast as well. So crucial moments here in the final round of the championship, and we've got a 1 hour long race in store for you to decide who the prizes are going to be handed out. And well, we won't waste any time because we're currently in practice. Got a few more minutes of that. We can send you straight through to what the championship order at the moment is in both the professional and the amateur standings. And you can see right there, Tom Dadswell, the defending champion as well. He has been superb this season. Looking through some of his results, he got his first win last time out at Barbie. You would have thought that out of the 4 rounds he would have won more than one of them with the sizable gap that he has already got. But he has finished, I believe, in 4th position in a couple of rounds, and then also 3rd position as well. So super consistent Dadswell, and that is why he is at the front. It was looking like Callum Reed might be able to take the challenge to him at Barber. However, he had problems near the end of the race, which ended his challenge, and it would take a fairly awful round, honestly, for Dadswell in order to lose the championship lead. 16 points, and with pretty much 1 point separating each position, he would need to be effectively last in order to lose the championship tonight. So he is looking very good for Altitude Esports, and I believe that would be Altitude Esports' 3rd consecutive FindingSpeed GT3 League Championship. In the amateurs, though, it is getting a little bit closer, and we had a brilliant round at Barber in this category, and Brett Crouch really came from nowhere in order to take the championship lead. He was trailing by some 15 points going into that round, but Chris Gooch had an absolute mare. He only scored a few points in that round of the championship. That means that Crouch goes into the final round of the season ahead. Scott Angelo still in the mix, and maybe even Phil Reagan, albeit Reagan would really need a huge helping hand, seeing that as there's only about 10 drivers out here tonight. Something truly spectacular would need to happen for Reagan, but really for Crouch and Gooch, they are the favourites, and Angelo could pick up the pieces if something negative befalls the pair of them. And just a reminder as well to new drivers or new visitors to the championship, the scoring system for this: 30 points for the race winner in each of the categories. So even if you finish 6th, say overall, if you finish top of the amateur drivers, you will get those 30 points. And then second place out of the pros or the AMs, that is 28, and then goes down to 27, 26, 25, 24, whatever. And so it is quite tricky to overhaul a big difference in the point standings, and no drop scores though. That is probably the one glimmer of hope for a few of the drivers who need to make up some points in order to take the championship. If one of their rivals does have a poor round, then they will pay for it. They won't just be able to scratch it from their overall score. So still plenty to play for, certainly in the amateur category. And of course, if any of the pros could get a final overall victory this season, that would be very positive for them going into next season, as the session transits overs to qualifying. And I was slightly taken aback. They couldn't find the words because it's gone forwards in time, as they were in Doctor Who, and we are now very much in sunset conditions. And this Elkhart Lake circuit does look particularly good in this weather. See there, 6 o'clock. It's going to be dark by the end of the race. It won't be dark in qualifying, but with the track getting cooler and cooler as the session goes on, we might well see some very strong times heading in for the end of the session. But all the drivers are out on track by themselves, so no slipstreaming opportunities around this very high-speed circuit. Of course, got those 3 long straights, or sorts of straights. The carousel to Canada corner, not necessarily a straight, but effectively flat out in these GT3 cars, and will be reaching speeds of about 170 miles an hour. And these guys will be trimming these cars out as much as possible. Lovely to see the brightness of this circuit as well. We visited Barber last time out, one of the oldest modelled circuits in all of iRacing, and safe to say it doesn't look like the best circuit. It sort of shows its age slightly. As this Road America circuit updated recently, and should be much better, as the drivers currently just completing the outlap at the moment. And Soto looking like he could be one of the first drivers to cross the line. Also Knudsen as well is going to be one of the next drivers to cross the line, and will be able to start that lap. Only 3 laps do the drivers get, and of course with the length of this Road America circuit, apologies, will pretty much take them to the 10 minutes, so will not have any extra time, not that they need it, as we are about to get qualifying proper underway, and it is already getting very dark here at Road America. As I think we can tell you about the new series which is coming up for FindingSpeed in the future, and this will be broadcasted on Apex Racing TV and of course on the FindingSpeed YouTube channel as well, during June and July and August later this year. And iRacing and YouTube content creator, obviously, FindingSpeed, providing broadcasted community races, leagues, track guides, how-to videos for iRacing enthusiasts. But there is a all-new fixed setup league coming soon. the FindingSpeed GT Challenge. It's going to be the ultimate GT3 and GT4 multi-class league. Registration starts in May, with the first of 6 races taking part at the end of June, and you can join the mailing list if you go to findingspeed.com, and that is the best way to find out when the event or sign-ups for the event does happen. So that will be running from June to August, and of course, along with the GT3 cars that we're already running, the GT4 cars will be a fantastic addition. So do make sure to visit findingspeed.com, where you can see all the other services that FindingSpeed also provides, but also get on that mailing list, and then you can be on the grid for next season. Looks like a really terrific start to evolution of the championship to create new series. Just being given a word that actually it's 6 in the morning, so my bad actually for so 6 in the morning. My bad for saying that it was in the evening. I thought it may have been 6 in the evening. Not sure why. I think I was thinking advancing of the session. I thought it was getting later in the day, but clearly the TARDIS was going in the wrong direction, and I believe it is still in the morning this session. So we won't be going into the darkness for this race session, and instead we will be getting lighter and lighter. So apologies for misleading anyone on that one. So in fact, maybe the track will be at its very best on the early stages of this qualifying session, as the first few times have already come through. Hakon Grebstad currently at the top, and on that first time round he was 1/10 of a second clear of championship leader Tom Dadswell. Billy Fletcher though goes to the top for Altitude Esports, who have been really fairly dominant this season. Grebstad has put up a good fight whenever he can. You can see there just 7/1000ths of a second the difference between the drivers at the moment. Chris Gooch currently top of the amateur drivers, and remember, Gooch does need to make up some points on Crouch. If Gooch won and Crouch finished third, which is how they currently are in qualifying, I believe that would mean that they'd be tied on points, I believe. So currently a 4-point deficit for Gooch. I believe they'll be tied on points. I believe that would go to race wins in that case, which I think Gooch would win out. So Crouch would need to do a little bit more, as he drops now down to 4th position. So he would definitely need to improve. Gooch would win the title by 1 point in such a scenario. We'll try to keep you up to date with those championship standings as the race goes on. Just trying to see, we have got Scott Angelo, fortunately, out there, but only in P7 at the moment as Angelo. He's 3rd place in the championship, needs to outscore both of those two drivers, as Dadswell puts in a very strong time. He goes to the top of the standings with a 2-minute 2.3. It's still really close between those top 3 drivers. Flanagan also improving a bit, stays behind Gooch. You can see how impressive that time is for Gooch to only be some 3.5 off the pace of the top pro drivers. And he is currently still out there. I'm not quite sure what his sector times are on this lap. He might just be cooling it down a bit. I think actually the drivers are just going for 3 fast laps, fueling up the car to do those laps a bit. Whether or not the tyres will be able to stick with you for that entire distance is another thing. Gooch is certainly seemingly pushing a lot through the kink and then down into Canada corner, keeping the car very neat and tidy there. Hopkins improving. He moves up into 8th place. You can see a few more AMs than we have pros, 12 AMs and 8 pros. And of course, that's particularly important in the AM category because it is the points that you score within your own class, or your position in your own class, which sets the points, not your position overall in the standings. So worth considering when it comes to the championship for that one. As Chala, he was really quick last time at Barber. Unfortunately, wasn't able to really put it together, but he will be one of the favourites for the AM to win tonight. and he is not able to improve. Lynch was able to improve just behind. I believe we are just setting now the last laps for a few of the drivers before that will pretty much be it for this session. So out of the 6 sectors then, Grebstad, I cannot see any personal best this time around. In fact, I'm not seeing particularly impressive times from anyone near the top of the standings. Doesn't look like any of the top 3 are going to improve. Well, maybe Dadswell might be able to improve, but I don't think Fletcher and Grebstad are going to be able to. Knudsen, who is my least favourite driver in the series due to his profile picture, moves up to 3rd position. So in fact, I think we have a purple sector for someone a little bit further down, so I think might be Grebstad, with a strong middle sector there. Out of the sectors we have here at Road America, Dadswell back into the pits. He's not going to improve. Fletcher's a little bit behind this, but it's Grebstad the first to cross the line. Is he able to take provisional pole? He is not. And in fact, that may have just been an invalid lap after all the movements did not come up on our screen, as he absolutely demolishes that car. He would be dead if this was real life. Maury moves up to 8th place overall. That's important for his position. And Grebstad, apologies, Fletcher is approaching the line. Is Fletcher able to take pole? Yes, he is. You can see it turn to a 1 right as he crossed the line. And it is Billy Fletcher who takes that pole position. I'll have to check if Fletcher has already taken a win this season. I'm not sure if he has, as Bajala is just the last man to cross the line. Also Lynch, to be fair, has also got another time. Lynch is actually going to cross the line a little bit before, so watch out for him changing positions. He only needs to improve by a tiny amount, and he does improve, well, a little bit more than a tiny amount. He moves up to 3rd place. Great qualifying there from Lynch. Any improvement from Bajala? No, it was another... Well, some consistent times there for Barchala. If it was taking your average lap time, I think he'd be up there with the pros. But unfortunately, it's your very best lap, and Barchala will need that consistency instead for the race coming up in just a moment. So there is the pace car. We're going to have a full formation lap. We could have gone for the short parade lap, albeit it is a really short parade lap. It's silly, really. It lines up on the entry to the final corner, so probably best that we get this full tour of this Road America circuit for the final round of the season. Billy Fletcher is on pole position, and it was one of the closest qualifyings we've had all season, which is impressive round what is a about a 4-mile circuit. He is ahead of Tom Dadswell. They are teammates, remember. Dadswell going for the championship, but obviously is well, yeah, Van Nylen isn't a teammate, but he's P2 in the championship. But anyway, they'll probably work together potentially if it comes down to it. Grebstad in 3rd position there for Igneo Motorsports. Great qualifying for Chris Gooch, and remember he has got to make up some points, and by putting some pros between himself and his nearest AM rival, then that will probably help him. It won't help him with the points, but it should give him a little bit of a buffer so that he's not at threat of dropping down to P2. So that is exactly what the Mystic Turtles driver needed. David Flanagan lines up in 5th place overall. Then it's Patrick Gunnon. Stein Van Nylen, who is 2nd place in the Pro Championship. He, I mean, needs something spectacular in order to win this title. Van Nylen, Mr. Consistent, but he'd need something apocalyptic to happen to Dadswell in order for the championship to switch. Carlston lines up in 8th place. There's Dan Mori. Mateus Soto, the Argentinian, in P2 out of the AMS. There's Graham Lynch. Matt Knudsen in 12th position. There's Scott Angelo. Remember, 3rd place in the amateur championship, Angelo. If he wins the championship, it would be remarkable. I don't think he will do, but we'll see. Ahead of Barchala. Crouch dropped down as qualifying went on. Remember, he was P3 after the first lap times, I think. But he, in the end, was all the way down to 7th. And if it ended like this, Crouch would lose his championship lead. So work for the RPM racing driver to do. Stefano Coccio lines up in 16th. There's Timothy Bree, who's very much out of position as a pro driver. Expect him to be pulling off some overtakes. Phil Reagan usually improves his performance, I think, when it comes to the race. So expect him to be making out some positions as well. Glenn Hopkins in 19th. There's Robert Odoms. Dennis Carter, Carl Gray, Dan Carranza, and Alex Peck. Also, Christian Volkner and Ollie Morgan, actually, as well, for that matter. Neither of those bottom two drivers set qualifying times, but I can confirm they are both in the race, fortunately. So that will be a good addition to the grid to see those two drivers taking part. And best of luck to them to make up some positions, particularly Ollie Morgan. Will have a lot of work to do for the car number 70 in order to score any decent points to round out his championship campaign. Because of course, once again, this is the final round of the championship here at Road America, where we are going to decide the championship positions. Quick shout-outs. Well, not necessarily a quick shout-out. We don't need to do a quick shout-out, but we can certainly give a shout-out of some kind to Asetek, who once again are the sponsors for this series. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring the championship and making this broadcast possible. And you may have seen a little bit of a trailer for Asetek earlier on in the broadcast, just before we went live here at the circuit. But if you didn't see it, then you should certainly check out asetek.com and check out Invicta, the hydraulic sim racing pedals from Asetek, SimSports. Reviewers all agree these pedals feel like the pedals of a real race car. You can dive into the glowing reviews at asetek.com/simsports/reviews. Huge thanks to them, and well, if you didn't see that, maybe go back. We've still got a few more seconds of this formation lap. Go back, watch the trailer. It's only 43 seconds long, and then come back live for the green flag. But yeah, once again, thanks to Invicta, and do check them out if you want to feel like a real racing driver. Sim racing pedals getting better and better, and Invicta really are at the forefront of that. But at the forefront of this field, it is Billy Fletcher, who is going to try to take a race win here for, I believe, would be the first time this season. In fact, actually, he won at Imola, of course, when his teammate had an issue. But, of course, no Callum Regarton to get in his way. If he wins this one, it would absolutely all be on his own back. And I'm sure he would love to end this season, even if it's not for the championship. I'm sure himself and his Altitude Esports drivers want to finish the season on a high. So just one more corner for Fletcher to go. Of course, the green flag round here comes out extremely late, but even then you've got a huge run to turn one, and so a good opportunity for P3 to get the slipstream and potentially make some overtakes. So Fletcher holding on just a moment. You can see Daswell is almost fully alongside the other teammates, and they probably communicate with one another. That's a really good launch there for Daswell to keep on the back of him. Mori has, I think, gone off the circuit right off the start, probably having a slight problem, but Fletcher leads us heading into turn one. No changes so far out to the top six drivers. Grebstad having to go slightly defensive against Gooch, and in fact Gooch having to go defensive against Flanagan in quick succession. Oh, we got a spinner just in the background. That is Carlson and Steinman Nyland, who of course was had a slim chance at the championship. That has certainly not helped him. I think he's got some damage there on the front of the car, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to make him drop down. Well, he's certainly very slow at the moment, so that is a big shame for the Belgian driver, whose P2 in the championship might be at threat if he is going to lose a lot of time here, as they just seem to stream on by. Dan Mori actually getting past him as Soto. Oh, we've got a big dive on the Audi, and that is Bree making contact with that was one of the sorry, it was Bree who was running wide initially, but I think he made contact. Maybe he made contact with Brad Crouch, who seems to be dropping down the order further and further. Crouch, certainly a poor start for him, but quite a few changes so far, as we've got another spinner. It's Gray and Van Nylen. So Van Nylen, after that contact earlier on, he may have already had damage. He's certainly going to have damage now. And Carl Gray, who started pretty much on the opposite end of the field, makes contact, and they both have big problems on this lap one of the race. Like a Grebstad really attacking Dadswell straight away. Oh, he's going to go the long way round here, is Grebstad. Round kind of corner. Looked like Dadswell had that one covered, but he did not. He was a bit cautious on the brakes, and the Igneo Motorsport driver takes full advantage. And it's Grebstad up into P2. That's a really good attacking move there at the latter part of this opening lap. And he can try to get a slight slipstream here from Billy Fletcher, who's already trying to break the draft early on in this final round of the season. Gooch still with these drivers. Remember, he does not score points for beating these drivers. It is for his in-class position, so he does not need to beat these guys. However, the more cars he gets between himself and his amateur rivals, perhaps the more security he has in that P1 position. So Gooch doing a good job right there. Lynch up 4 places, by the way. Brilliant start for Graham Lynch. He's got ahead of Carlson in all of that. Soto up a place, and Angelo also with a really good start for himself. But poor start for Brad Crouch, and if it ended like this, Gooch would be the champion. Even though he's 4 points behind at the moment, that difference would comfortably bring him the championship. In fact, if Gooch wins this race, at least by my calculations, we would need to see the championship leader Crouch get back up into P2 in order to keep that championship lead, because if they tied on points, then it would be the driver who won more races who'd come out on top, and that is Gooch, who would be the benefactor of that one. As we see Dadswell dropping back, and well, if anything, not the dominance maybe that I thought that Altitude Esports might have, because Fletcher is dropping into the clutches of Grebstad, and Dadswell is dropping into the clutches of Gooch right now. And it's over 1.1 seconds. In fact, could we see another move here from Grebstad? This is where he overtook earlier on, and I think he's going to try to do the same thing on the inside. No defense really from Fletcher whatsoever, and Grebstad turning those tyres on much quicker, it seems, in these early stages. He takes the lead at Canada Corner, and that is a fantastic move there from Hakon Grebstad. Let's see if he can use this early race advantage, which may not carry for the entire event. Let's see if he can use this to pull away, or maybe is Fletcher just playing the tactical game to drop behind. Oh, we've had a huge crash on the exit of Canada Corner. Has that involved any of our championship contenders? It has. Brett Crouch was involved in this one. I'm not sure how much damage he's got. He's got a lot of damage, and this will surely decide the amateur championship. Crouch, who entered this race as the championship leader, you already had damage. He had a bit of a messy turn lap 1, and I think he's going to lose it all by himself. He gets onto the gravel, then the grass, spins it round into the tyres, and gets a huge hit from behind. You just having to go wide. Oh, then we get that secondary contact there. It was the 89 of Bree who got hit twice, I think, in all of that. And now we've got Maury, we've got Odoms, Carter, Volkner, Crouch and Bree all back to the pits. Carl Gray and Stein Van Nylen, who of course had problems earlier on, also behind. But well, I imagine Gooch will be aware. He would have been keeping an eye on what his championship rivals were doing, and that is a big shame, because I think it would have been a tight championship battle between the two of them. But now Crouch will need a huge helping hand from Gooch in order to come back into it. Of course, despite that big contact, he will be able to re-enter the circuit, and with no damage, he's used his faster pair to good use right there. So should be able to continue the rest of the race quick, as Lynch, has he hit the wall though? Well, he doesn't seem to have too much damage. That's a shame. He was P2 in the AMS, and let's see if there's going to be a move through the kink. Boys, very scary whenever you go side by side into the kink, even though one driver is much slower than the other. Marcello also taking advantage of that. It'd be good to get a replay of what happened to Lynch. I assume it's going to be another case of dipping a wheel onto the grass on the outside and spinning into the inside wall. I recall making a similar mistake in the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype. Well, in fact, it's not that. He's just lost the rear end mid-corner, and often such a satisfying corner. You got a little bit of camber, which helps the car around. And well, at least I hope that Lynch was fully aware of the other cars. They didn't hesitate to spin back around onto the circuit. Didn't make any contact though. There weren't any cars who were immediately passing As look at that, Crouch. Oh, so Crouch, I think, had to tow back to the pits. So maybe he towed, but can't seem to use the fast repair for some reason. And he's already been in the pits for 90 seconds. Do not. Well, I mean, this is horrible to see. I mean, the championship was already over, really, because even if Gooch did have a problem, most likely one of the other drivers would take advantage of it, like Angelo, as we have Lynch getting back past Barchala. Or not. Barchala with strong defence. So far, the Spaniard, not with the pace they seem to have at Barber. It was tricky to judge Barchala's pace. Maybe I'm picking him up a bit too much here. But whenever I seem to look at him, he's always seemed to be like setting fastest laps. He just always seems to, for one thing, he started near the back. And also he seems to have about 5 spins during the race. But his pace so far in this race, not very impressive. You can see how far back he's dropped. We've got quite a bit of field spread already. These drivers 20 seconds off the overall lead and 16.5 seconds off Chris Gooch at the front of the top of the amateur drivers, and the track map demonstrating that very well. The top 6 drivers all close to one another. Then you got a bit of a gap back to David Flanagan. Apologies, the top 5 drivers fairly close to one another. Then you got Flanagan a little bit further back right now. As Barchala leads through Bill Mitchell Bend and into the final corner. Gooch is under pressure from Flanagan, so apologies, it is the top 6. I don't know what I was, I was reading the timing screen wrong, apologies. But Flanagan extremely close. Angelo ahead of Soto, by the way. And maybe the championship, which I was ruling out for Scotty Angelo. I can't want Angelo to win the championship, honestly, because, I mean, I don't mind being wrong, but I really ruled him out after his qualifying. But he is up 5 places so far, is Angelo. I think he started P4 out of the AMS, but he's up to P2 now. And if Gooch had a crash here, Angelo would be in championship winning position. But Gooch is building up a nice lead anyway. Even if he did have a problem, he would be able to come into the pits, get that fast repair, and probably maybe still get on the podium after all of that still. 3 points between Gooch and Angelo. So Angelo, if he were to win, Gooch would need to finish in P3, I believe, in order to win the championship. So Angelo's asking the question, at least. He's not going to beat Gooch. It looks like Gooch looks extremely quick tonight. But he is at least asking the question of Gooch to keep it on the track. And with Gooch racing so hard with Flanagan right now, maybe that is not exactly what the British driver needed. By the way, out in the lead, Grebstad just 1/10 of a second ahead of Fletcher, and it does seem like we are seeing the classic, absolute classic fuel-saving strategy in these GT3 cars. Oh no, has Lynch made another mistake? Oh, it's not round, it's around the same corner. It's the exact same incident, but he's hit the wall this time. Let's see if he rejoins. Yeah, he rejoins all right that time, does Lynch again. Had a good gap, but he's made the exact same mistake. Remarkable. And, well, maybe he did fall onto the grass this time, I don't know, but previously it was the rear end, so costly mistake for him there. Let's listen in, see if Fletcher lifts and coasts. Maybe. It was certainly easing onto the brake, maybe just extending the braking zone as high speed off the track there goes Grebstad. Oh, Fletcher's going to go for the move here. I was a little bit surprised. I honestly thought he'd just slot in behind, but, well, maybe he was pushing, maybe he was hoping to get that position back, because once there was the mistake from Grebstad, he well and truly made advantage of it. You can see Daswell catching up as well, but I mean, this is what's confusing. Fletcher goes for the move into turn 2, and I am going to call it turn 2 because it is turn 2, this is turn 3, and yet he doesn't defend into turn 3, which seems a little bit pointless. You would think he would just lift off massively if he didn't want track position anyway. But instead, yeah, he went for the move. This has helped out Daswell. Maybe that was the thinking behind it. Maybe slow them up, bring Daswell back into play. And these two drivers will be able to get a lot of fuel saving. And we certainly saw this in the Sim Racers World IMSA Championship. The drivers really not wanting to be out in the lead, particularly these high-level pro drivers, the drivers who are far better than myself, for example. Um, these drivers will not be able to pull away from one another necessarily with the draft effect around this circuit, and so just waiting behind one another and saving the fuel to get a shorter pit stop later on. Possibly the game they are playing right now. Patrick Ganon only 2.5 seconds off these drivers, 0.2 of a second slower on that last lap, but I think he's been a fair bit quicker on this lap. Well, actually had a bit of a poor Sector 4. I don't know where Sector 4 is. In fact, on the track map, which I think it's taken me about 3 years to learn this, but the track map does demonstrate where the sector times are, so I do appreciate the track map. So you can see Sector 4 there. I guess that is Carousel region, isn't it? So Carousel up to about Canada Corner, so really only a couple of corners around that part of the track. But around that part of the circuit was not very good round then. Was again on that previous tour of the track. And yeah, one of his worst laps of the race, wasn't able to really make any impression. However, this man, Tom Dadswell, he gained by 6/10 of a second on these drivers on that last tour of the circuit. So he's well and truly in draft range and can fuel save, as you heard it there. Not deploying the clutch, which is a bit of a point. It's sort of pointless to deploy the clutch. You need to decelerate the car anyway, so let the engine braking do something anyway. Especially when your Dadswell here, probably going to be able to cruise behind. And it turns into a bit of a race of, whilst Krebsdad is leading, he's not really leading, because we know that Fletcher and Dadswell will be able to take less fuel at their pit stop, and therefore be able to get track position. But it's still early stages in this race, and particularly when we get round to the traffic, which is still a while away, because the drivers who had to pit earlier on pretty much lost a lap, I think. In fact, they didn't even lose a lap. They lost less time. I don't know how they lost so little time, to be honest. But really, Van Nylen's the only driver who's still running who's a lap down. We've got Gray in the pits, and then Maury and, well, Brad Crouch actually calling it a day. He could not seem to get that fast repair to do anything. It's a huge shame for the Amateur Championship leader, whose Amateur Championship campaign well and truly coming to an end, and yeah, he'll be hugely disappointed after a brilliant performance last time out at Barber. It was his mistake round that corner, Canada Corner, which caused a big incident in at the start of this event. I think it was lap 2 or lap 3 of this race. Went wide, really buried the throttle, and spun into the inside wall and almost made a track blockage as well. So was his mistake, and that is why he is not going to be able to challenge for this title after all. Ollie Morgan is catching up to Barchala. Barchala going a little bit defensive here. Or is he just going to let his rival go on by? He is gonna well and truly fight this one, but it is so tricky to race here at Road America if you are the slower driver, because even if you defend into one straight, you're vulnerable down the next. And, well, Morgan didn't need to hesitate too long there. He is straight past. Got a bit of damage on the front of that car, and that will be hurting him. Not through the corners, most likely, but down these straights, it will be adding a little bit of extra drag. But Barchala, with that slight mistake through turn 1, not able to respond. And we wait to see what pace Morgan's got. Well, in fact, Morgan was the third fastest man of anyone on that last lap in the 2-minute threes. Huge shame that they didn't set a qualifying time. He started right at the back, did Ollie Morgan. I think he may have been caught up in some instance as well. But if he keeps this pace up, we could see him around Gooch, Flanagan region by the end of the race. Wonder if we'll see a bit of an alternative strategy as well from him. The drive's limited to 70% fuel. And so, as we see a very unique line there for Morgan. See, watch out for those different lines through the carousel. So many different lines he can take around there, but he took a very late turn and really went up high initially through the carousel. But yeah, the drive's limited to 70% fuel, and so they should be able to go about 42 minutes on a tank of fuel, maybe even close to 45 or bit. This is a very high fuel consumption circuit with the flat out sections that we have got. And so expect the earliest pit stops to be in a couple of minutes time. Here comes Flanagan. And that it was pretty easy for him. He's up to P5, the Team Upstate Pro. And that one seems to be just about locked in. Reminder once again, and I know I've said it a lot of times already today, Gooch, if he wins this race, he wins the championship. And he doesn't need to fight the pro drivers. His points are scored separately to the pro points. And so all he needs to do is beat the nearest amateur driver and he will be champion. On the last lap, I don't know if we could maybe get the lap time comparison graphic up between Gooch and Angelo. Might take a little bit of time to bring that one up, but it is my favourite graphic. Good to see F1 actually bring it back in. I think they pretty much forgot that graphic was a thing for about 3 years, when it's like the best graphic in all of F1. There we are. Great work from Sam Coomer, our broadcaster. And you can see the lap times fairly similar, at least since lap 6. Gooch was pulling away, but more recently Angelo putting in some strong times. Last lap for Angelo. Fair bit off his best lap time. In fact, everyone's a fair bit off their best lap times right now, as the tyres kind of reach this mid part of the stint. But fairly even between these two drivers. The gap is currently 5.5 seconds. And if Angelo was to win in the amateur category, then as far as I can work out, Gooch would need to be in P3. So it's not just a case of Angelo catching and passing Gooch, even though that would help. He would need Gooch to drop down another position in order for the championship to switch hands. But strong pace from Angelo after not a particularly impressive qualifying performance. He has very much got the race pace. And the American for SimSports Blue, who has got a brilliant profile picture because he's got rid of the background. It fits real nice on our SDK Gaming overlay. He is racing along the moment. That's a lovely line through turn 1. Really is such an enjoyable circuit, this Road American track. Certainly one of my favourites at least. And yeah, nice that it looks good from the cockpit as well with the graphics update as they go under the cheese bridge. Knudsen, as we go from one brilliant profile picture to the worst profile picture. And you can also see on the back of the car, got some toes on the back of the car. If only he was ahead of someone, but there you can see, absolutely hideous, horrible stuff. And you know, we do ban obscenity on these broadcasts, and I think that's close to the lines because it makes me nauseous. Honestly, it's absolutely hideous. Is that? But Knudsen continues. In fact, he's going to go past one of the SimSports drivers. There's Hopkins. Hopkins giving, well, both of them giving each other a lot of space, and the Australian does a good job at keeping ahead right there. 0.3 of a second is the gap at the moment between the two of them, and they pretty much matched each other on that last lap. But if Knudsen has got some extra pace, he really does need to make this move very, very quick. So he gets some clean air, can chase after Peck and Barchala and Co. Albeit those drivers quite spread out up ahead. Meanwhile, at the front, Dadswell chopping off slightly. He wants to be a bit closer than that in order to take advantage of the draft. He actually dropped back by a 10th on the race leaders. You can see the times popping up on the timing tower right there. Fletcher, though, gets in a lot of this draft, and he's surely going to be the race leader once we get to the pit stops because he has saved a decent amount of fuel already. There's nothing really that Grebstad can do. Well, I mean, Grebstad could let him pass, to be honest. And we've seen it already. Grebstad made a mistake through turn 1. Fletcher passed him, but then Grebstad fairly desperate to get the move straight back. And so he could, you know, literally just lift off and beg Fletcher to go past and then wait behind after that. But no sign of him doing that so far. Instead, he is still pushing as hard as anything, trying to build up a gap maybe to Dadswell, who is struggling out here at the moment. Dadswell qualified in P2, remember, was actually pole sitter for much of the session. It was only a very late effort from Billy Fletcher with about 40 seconds to go in the session, which denied Dadswell pole. And yet when it comes to race pace, and of course the drivers will be running probably different setups when it comes to race pace, maybe they'll be running their FindingSpeed setups. I'm sure they are available for these drivers to use. But yeah, once he gets to the race, Dadswell not quite so strong, but you see that number 1 on the car. He is going to defend his championship, which I believe will be the first time that driver has defended their championship in this series, which would be very impressive. I think Billy Fletcher was the Season 2 champion. Apologies if I'm butchering the history of the series. But certainly it was, I think it was Billy or Mark who managed to take the championship. But it is going to be back-to-back titles for Dadswell this season, because his nearest championship rival, who was already a fair bit off, Stein Van Nylen, having an absolute mare, crashing twice on lap 1, and well, he is he's still going is Van Nylen, to be fair, but he's already a lap and a half down, so is not going to be in play. Kocho versus Reagan. Here comes Reagan. It's not a very good exit though for the BMW driver. Should be enough to momentarily get himself ahead, but then he might give the side draft, which at least in my experience usually benefits the trailing driver, to Kocho. And there goes Kocho actually back ahead, but surely the much better line here for Reagan. Not much of a braking area, and it is very narrow through turn 1. And Reagan, seemingly the faster driver right now, moves to 10th place. And faster than the pair of these drivers, Ollie Morgan is also there. 0.3 of a second back. He was 3 seconds faster than Kocho. He had a bit of a rubbish lap, did the Epoch Motorsports driver. And the Morgan Racing driver might be in line for a move into turn 3. It would be unnecessarily bold. So go for the move into turn 3. Gains a lot of speed mid-corner. He's probably going to have to wait till counter corner to make this move stick, but considering that he's got 36 more minutes to go, I don't think there's going to be too much of a rush for him right now. As you can see, the pace that he carries through turn 5. Inside for 6. And it's Ollie Morgan up to 11th place overall. Once again, no extra points for Morgan, but I think seeing that he's not really battling for any positions in the championship, he just wants to get some overtakes under his belt and try to recover after not setting a qualifying lap earlier on in the event. And he is now 1 second behind Reagan. I was saying earlier on how he might get up to P5 by the end of this race. That may have been pushing it a bit for Reagan. I think he might be the 5th fastest driver out there. But with the 20 odd seconds that he's got to make up to get to Flanagan, that would probably be pushing it a bit. But maybe Angelo certainly I think might be catchable. But certainly Reagan will just be a matter of time, I imagine. Only less than a second, the gap between the two of them right now. This is the really the only three-way battle we currently have out on circuit. Also got Hopkins versus Knudsen, like we were talking about earlier on. Still Knudsen yet to make that move stick. And of course the two leaders, Grebstad versus Fletcher, Dadswell, well and truly now out of that draft range. And so very much a two-way battle out in the lead at this Road America circuit. There is the Norwegian driver, who you see plenty of. Well, you see all these drivers plenty of on Apex Racing TV, to be fair. It's a little bit wide there for Grebstad. Wonder if the incidents will play their part later on. At Imola, it was absolutely crazy. Wasn't expecting too many incidents at Imola, but to be fair, I don't drive too much on the sim, I must confess, but it is quite a tricky circuit when it comes to the incidents, and so yeah, it did cause the drivers lots of problems. Lots of drivers reaching the 17 incidents. Shouldn't be as much of a problem around this circuit. The grass very much lines this track rather than the tarmac, which lines much of the Imola circuit. But well, at least from basically how I brought this up, Grebstad pushing the track limits a couple of times. We've already seen him run wide through turn 1 and then through turn 5 as well on this lap. Unfortunately, we can't tell you what the incidents are. We just have to wait in case someone ducks into the pits with 10 minutes to go. That's usually the diagnosis of that. As Gebstead once again will close. We pass. As he gains by another half-tenth of a second. Gannon very much falling away from these drivers now. Daswell once again lost time to these guys. Getting on to a really quick time. I was ruling him out for a second there, but he is now 8.5 seconds off the lead. It doesn't look like the American's going to be able to do anything to these drivers. Flanagan's doing a strong P5. Morgan into the pits, and I did say earlier on that Morgan might go for an alternative pit stop, out of position, and he's pretty much... Well, I mean, he could have pitted much earlier, to be fair. He could have pitted on the 20-minute mark and still get to the end of the race. But he's decided to leave it to 27.5 minutes. I think he was on the back of Reagan just previously, so he didn't fancy passing Reagan. Comes into the pits and should be in a lot of free air. Once he comes back out, he will be the first driver to come into the pits who will be able to get to the end of the race. Lynch, I don't think will make it. Lynch had a very long pit stop anyway. Remember Lynch? He was up in P2 in the amateur category earlier on in the race, but had problems, but fortunately that car well and truly fixed. It was a sterling mistake as well from him. Morgan back out onto track. 30 seconds stationary. And I think that is longer than what we will see for other drivers. Should only be about 15 seconds. A little bit longer around this circuit because of the high fuel consumption, but I don't think everything was going to according to plan there for Ollie Morgan, and he may have just lost some time, as I think we're just getting word that he may have overshot his pit stall, but he's really messed up that one because yeah, 10-15 seconds lost I think, or maybe to be fair, we have no reference apart from the previous rounds of the championship, but in the previous rounds of the championship it has been around 15 seconds that the fuel has usually taken. But well, maybe once we get another driver into the pits we'll be able to properly compare, as Gribstad and Fletcher really upping the pace now. It seemed like the fastest times were coming in the first few laps of the race, then there seemed to be a bit of a depression in lap times, and now we are returning back to some of the best laps once again out on the circuit, and these guys are delivering on them right now. Once again, shout out to FindingSpeed. Of course, if you're watching on the FindingSpeed YouTube channel, then you probably don't need to be told any of this, but if you're watching on Apex Racing TV, then FindingSpeed, of course, is an iRacing and YouTube content creator, providing broadcasted community races, leagues, track guides, and how-to videos for iRacing enthusiasts. Go over to the FindingSpeed YouTube channel, or you can go to FindingSpeed.com as well. Real nice website over there where you can find more details about FindingSpeed. And of course, if you want to get on the mailing list for the next season, I'm not sure if it's going to be called Season 5 of the GT, because this is the GT3 Championship. But the reason why it may not be called Season 5 is because we're going to have GT4 cars for next season. So if you drive GT3s or GT4s on iRacing, go over to FindingSpeed.com and get yourself on the mailing list for when entries open. It should be in May, and then the season will start in June and running all the way into August. So yeah, do check all of that out. The Fletcher is coming extremely close into Canada corner. Doubt we're going to see any pit stops now, particularly Fletcher will almost certainly leave it to the last moment. His advantage right now is that he has saved fuel, and so if he can, he'll go one extra lap on a tank of fuel. Well, yeah, one extra lap on this current tank of fuel. Take less fuel at his next pit stop, and that should perhaps give him the race lead. As I believe we have Adam Thompson in the commentary box with us. Adam, welcome.
Yeah, hello, Sam. I apologize for the delay in me getting here. There may have been a bit of a mix-up, I think, on the times that this started, but I'm here, ready to watch. I've been watching the last few laps as everything got fired up for me, and yeah, I've been watching Grebstad here. He's about to lose actually here to Fletcher, but this has been a good battle up front so far.
Yeah, it has been a very good battle. Yeah, just impressive that their pace has been so good to drop down. I mean, Deswell can occasionally match them, but most laps it's sort of 1/10 of a second slower for the P3 man. Remember, Deswell's going to win this championship, so it really does show the caliber of Grebstad and Fletcher. It really does show the level that these drivers are performing at, as this has now pretty much become our only battle out on circuit. Albeit you can see a bit of yellow between Gooch and Carlson.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see, you know, this Audi seems to really be holding it onto the Porsche, and I've definitely driven both of these cars, and I can tell you the Porsche is, I think, more difficult to drive than the Audi, but the Porsche, for me, seems like it would be a little bit quicker, but watching Fletcher take this Audi around this track, it looks like he may have the upper hand here. Definitely seems like he's more comfortable with the car.
Yeah, I think you may well be correct, and he's probably been, well, we've certainly seen him lift off on multiple occasions, haven't we, where he's decided to stay behind and save a bit of fuel as we get to the 33-minute mark. Still no sign of coming into the pits for either of these drivers. Like I was saying before, Fletcher and Grebstad will probably push it as far as they possibly can, because then you're on the lowest amounts of fuel. No tyres, of course, taken for the drivers. That would take way too long. 26 seconds approximately to change tyres in these machines. As Lynch comes into the pits, he's pretty much out of play, but he decides to come into the pits right now after already using his fast pet earlier on, and that will fuel him up to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance here, Sam, but what would why are these guys coming in so earlier? Is this normally about the window that these about the 33-minute window that these guys are supposed to be coming in? Because as you mentioned, still no signs of Grebstad and Fletcher up there in front trying to come in. So just kind of wondering if that really is fuel saving or just different strategies here.
Well, the drivers, as we might see an overtake here. Here comes Carlson. He's really caught up to Gooch very quickly. That was over a second. The difference between these two drivers just a moment ago, but Carlson much faster all of a sudden. He is ahead then of Chris Gooch. He is up to 6th position, and whoa, looks very nice on the overlay now. The top 6 of the pros, and then the next 9. All the amateur drivers, and we can also change over now to the class position, so it makes it a bit easier now to follow for you viewers. But the drivers are limited to 70% fuel, so they should be able to go to about the 40-minute mark, and that should be the quickest strategy. But I think, at least for Morgan, he was in a little bit of traffic, so he pitted early to get some clean air. I'm not sure why the others have come in early. I mean, for me at least, it does always surprise me how early sometimes drivers pit, because theoretically, of course, it's always best to leave it as late as possible to come into the pits. It's only if you're in traffic that it's an advantage to pit early, but that's what a few of these drivers have done. But I think these guys at the front, when they're talking about tenths of a second, you've got to leave it as long as possible, because you can't afford to unnecessarily be carrying extra fuel around this part of the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, without tires, it doesn't seem like they're really going to gain much of an advantage just coming in that much earlier. But, I mean, watching these two up here, the top two, just dropping Dadswell slowly, about 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap. That gap there up to 3 seconds now, which is really impressive. Looks like Hopkins maybe trying to get a little bit closer to Peck there for 8th and 7th. Oh, just kidding. There goes that interval back to where it was, too.
Ooh,
there, well,
off.
Never mind.
And into the pits he goes. Well, that's very much the death of that battle. But he will get back. Hopefully you won't have to use the fast pair, because you can get some splitter damage if you're kind of bundling over the grass, like he was right there with Peck. But this will be another pit stop to send him to the end. I think he got overtaken Hopkins in all of that as well, so he needs a quick pit stop in order to stay ahead of Hopkins, and of course battle back after Bachala after that mistake.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, making a mistake there, probably the best place you could have made it, because you're right next to the pits anyways, just to drive your car in there. It's better than on the backside of the track, but unfortunate for him, but I know that's definitely not going to be the end of his race. I really don't think that that hurt him as badly as it could have.
Definitely. I'm not sure if you saw the incident earlier on, but we had a big crash. Or it's getting quite close. Always, maybe Fletcher. Is he going to come into the pits? I know he seems very close here. That just seems like a indication that maybe he.
It's like they both.
Yeah,
Oh,
looking like Webster is going to come into the pit. So Fletcher, with all that fuel saving, will be able to go one lap further. So that is as far as the fuel will go. So I'm surprised actually. I thought the fuel would be able to go further. 70% limited tank, but because it is such a high fuel consumption circuit, they are going to have to pit in much earlier than what we've seen them the rest of the season. And so Fletcher's pretty much got one lap here to overcome that 10th and a half he was behind, and I would back Fletcher to do that. You think he's going to have to take one less lap of fuel, which should be what, half a second or so, and he's now got a super low fuel car, which he should be able to set some very quick sectors with.
yeah, we'll just have to see. You know, this is going to be really interesting to see if Fletcher can actually man, I'm trying to think of the word. But anyway, see if Fletcher can hold this first place when he comes out of the pits. But you wonder how much fuel saving he's doing on this lap into the pits as well. Even though he may have enough, you wonder if he's actually going full bore, if he's trying to take it just a little easy to make sure he can get to the pits.
Yeah, you might be, you could well be right. If he is on the margin, then I have to fuel save, but at least from what we're seeing on this lap, he is hitting all the marks as well as he possibly could, taking a slightly tighter line than what we saw Morgan do. Saw the more classic carousel line right there, and then he'll power through the kink and into Canada corner. Grebstad was stationed for 19.23, so Grebstad himself was actually stationary for a very short amount of time, because we are seeing that really the average pit stop time be sort of 20.8, 21 dead, something like that. So Grebstad pushing the fuel. He has not taken any extra fuel. He may have to dictate to run as Fletcher running wide. There'll be an extra one expert. Didn't seem to slow him down at all. And this has been an absolutely rapid lap. And we wait to see if it's going to be enough. It's 45 seconds a gap he's got, but it's the longest pit stop pretty much in the world as Fletcher makes his decisive pit stop.
He is gaining time even. Look, 45 now, 0.2. And now he's going to come into the pits, but this is going to be very, very close. And watching how Fletcher was driving behind Grebstad before they came in, I can see if Fletcher can get this pit stop done in about that time that Grebstad was able to, I bet you Fletcher may be able to get out in front and maybe run away with this, because he definitely seems to be more comfortable in that Audi.
Yeah, and you point out well with the gap on the timing side. It does seem to have increased, because I think it was about 45 dead, wasn't it? Now it's up to 45.5. Of course, Grebstad is still completing the corners that Fletcher has already completed, so it is accurate, as now it becomes a bit less accurate as he crosses the line. Now, who is going to be ahead? Is he still stationary? He is still stationary. Oh, wow, that's a super short pit stop there for Fletcher. 16.2. He took 3 seconds less fuel, and that is why he is 2.7 seconds ahead. So if he had the same length of pit stop, he would have been behind, but he took so little fuel there. That is unreal. I mean, you've got to look at the timing screen, because it's absolutely insane, and we should be able to see that on the timing tower, the pit stop times, because Fletcher has pretty much snipped off, what, 3, 4, 5 seconds compared to most other drivers.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable stop there by Fletcher, to be honest. 16 seconds. That's the first sub 17 second time I think I've seen for any of these drivers today. So, man, yeah, 16.1. That is amazing stop by Fletcher, and you can see what that has done for him in the lead by quite a big margin now, and like you mentioned, on a bit of a lighter car.
Yeah, this is really good news for Fletcher. And, well, as long as he's put enough fuel in the car,
Exactly.
I cannot see him lose out from here. We've only got 19 minutes to go, and for such a competitive and consistent driver like Billy Fletcher, he's broken the draft now to Grebstad. It would surely take a mistake in order to bring Grebstad back into this race. And if anything, maybe he looked slightly fast in the first stint. I mean, it's tricky to tell really because he was sort of pacing himself in P2, but he did look very good right there. We haven't talked too much about the Amateur Championship battle for a little while. We know that Dads was going to win the Pro Championship, but this man, Chris Gooch, who was 4 points behind in the championship going into this round of the series, he is currently leading the way and would have the points to take the title by, I believe, 5 points if it ended like this. Angelo entered the meeting 3 points behind Gooch, but that would increase by 2 points if it ended like this, and so Gooch would take the title. Of course, the man they were both behind going into this round was Brett Crouch, but Crouch crashed on lap 3 of the race, all by himself, it should be added, and unfortunately couldn't get his fast repair to work seemingly, so was not able to re-enter the circuit. So Gooch still out clear, 8.5 seconds ahead, but that battle for P2 in the end is looking quite nice. Angelo versus Volkner. Although Volkner now into the pits, he had not taken his pit stop, so that's why it was so close. So Angelo a bit more comfortable now in that position. Ooh, Ganon,
Oh.
he's crashed at turn 1. That looks like he's got damage.
Yeah, the right. Though I think it's the left side of that rear wing appears to be non-functional. Yeah, that's. I don't think that's how that's supposed to be. Wonder what happened there. Turn 1, kind of a bit of a weird corner. We're about to find out before I say anything else. He just gets off into the grass.
Ooh, that was a really big hit, wasn't it? I mean, into the tyre barrier, so it's going to cost him less. As he reversed, probably not the best thing to do there. Good that the driver behind him didn't commit the wrong way. I think that was Flanagan behind him. So Flanagan up to P4, Gooch up to P5 overall. What's happened? Oh no, Carlson's now crashed. Carlson's hit the wall and has... So Carlson may not have used his fast repair. I hope he hasn't used his fast repair because you have to untick it in order not to use it at your pit stop. I just hope that he hasn't used it so far, but that is Carlson. He had just moved up a place. He's going to drop a lot now.
That is a very bent up BMW, and that looks like that was another another big incident for Christopher Carlson. We're about to see what exactly happens here. This is weird, pretty... Oh, what the heck was that?
I think he dipped a wheel onto the gravel, didn't he? So he usually tried to get onto the tarmac on the outside, but I think just a lack of concentration there because he was on the gravel way too early, broke on the gravel, and then headed straight into the wall. So, yeah, just a bit of a silly mistake there from Carlson. And like I said, just hope he hasn't already used his fast repair and we get to see him out on track again because, I mean, that damage would take over 10 minutes to fix.
Oh yeah, you can see the suspension damage. He's crab walking down the pit lane, just trying to keep that thing straight. We're about to find out if he can get back out. He does have a bit of a gap between him and Morgan to play with, but maybe not enough. We're about to find out as Morgan slowly is going to be catching up to Carlson, and yeah, that's at least going to lose him one position here.
Yeah, now will this car magically turn good again?
No,
it's
it
not.
will not.
Oh no, so he has used his fast repair already. Maybe he just, I mean, he probably just like tapped a curb earlier on and felt the need to replace the splitter. But instead, he is going to be in the pits now for maybe the rest of the race. That is a shame to see that his season end like that as we got Peg off the circuit. And he's going to make contact. Oh, he almost hit Knudsen. Great reactions from Knudsen to avoid any contact there. And this time he's going to try to move past. They're almost making contact as well. And this one is just starting out. I think Knudsen looks faster.
Yeah, he absolutely does. He's definitely trying to find a way around. That was extremely close. You can see him just putting all the pressure on. He's going to try to run around the outside here. Very, very good maneuver around the outside of the track. And this is going to be tough, though, because they're going to be starting to get into this carousel section. They're going to have to figure this out pretty quick.
Yeah, seemed to have enough overspeed to get ahead, but back came Peck. And Peck with much better speed through turn 5 to remain in 8th position. So Peck was actually fast on that previous lap, So maybe Peck is the faster driver out of these guys, but of course he made that huge mistake into turn 1. And yeah, brilliant driving from Knudsen. I've made my disdain for Knudsen very clear throughout this season. But I've got to give credit where credit's due. Mr. Toeman has pulled out an absolute blinder on that occasion. So good work from him. As we've got a few more battles now sort of igniting. We've got Barchala versus Hopkins. There is Barchala, the Spaniard, up to P6 now is the Spaniard.
Yeah,
and,
doing
that is Hopkins right behind.
yeah, doing really well. Seems to normally when you don't talk about this, and I say this in commentary all the time. Normally when you don't talk about people, they're either doing really bad or they're doing really good, or they're really clean. And Hopkins is being very clean right now, so doing a great job in that Audi. Getting it done, but there is a battle here between Gooch and Gannon as well. It may have just been an overtake, actually.
Ooh, and Kocho has lost it at turn 1. Turn 1, probably the most error-prone corner we have seen so far. That's a shame for the Italian. He was Mr. Consistent earlier on, and now, well, he's lost a lot of places there. That was unlucky for him. There goes Volkner as well. He's pretty much last of the jars on the lead lap now, so big shame there for Kocho. But you're absolutely right, there was a move for Gannon to get past Gooch. So Gannon, who made a mistake in turn 1 earlier on, he absolutely smashed the wall. I mean, if that was real life, they would need a red flag because he would have destroyed that tire wall. And instead, he's absolutely racing around.
How is he?
Soto now with a mistake. Albeit he's alright.
No, that's a good save there by Soto. That could have been way worse than it was, but I want to know how Gannon's still driving that car right now.
Let's see if he's got any steering damage.
Yeah, if we go on board, you'd be able to see it. If he does, I mean, the whole left side of that car is just absolutely, it doesn't really look like it. That's impressive.
Good advert for Audi. Good advert for tyres. Very soft. Probably sleep on them and have a wonderful night because they were as soft as anything when he hit them. Let's see how much he's pushing it actually through turn 1 this time. Oh, he's not hanging back, is it? Oh, he almost, almost made the same mistake, getting a wheel onto the dirt again, and just half dot sort that time, avoided any incidents. He carries lots of speed through turn 2. So many drivers picking up dirt. I've got to feel like they're going to be pushing the instant limit by the end of this race. I'd be surprised if we don't see anyone make a late pit stop.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, these guys are pushing extremely hard, but if you're Chris Gooch right now and you see Patrick Gannon up there with a wing that looks more like it's doing more harm than good at the moment, and the whole left side of the car is pretty much has quite a bit of damage. Oh man, as we've got another move, looks like Knudsen is going to try to make another move here on Peck. Peck is doing a great job defending this battle, though.
Yeah, it's really tricky to tell who's faster. I think Peck got past a few laps ago, and then of course we saw that great avoidance from Knudsen when Peck made the mistake. Peck seemed to be pulling away, and now Knudsen is closing back in, but he's not close enough for turn 3. Also, Soto, Reagan, and Morgan. That mistake for Soto has really left him vulnerable to a couple of the cars behind. And 8th place overall will be under hot contention very soon. Morgan, of course, with that early pit stop. And it does seem like that pit stop for Morgan, 30 seconds, it was unusually long. So he lost 10 seconds in the pit stop, did Morgan, compared to everyone else, and that is why he is just battling for those places, albeit he is only a 10th of a second behind Reagan right now.
Oh my goodness, that was great camera work there, by the way, Samuli, for catching that. Morgan looks like he's going to get around Reagan. He is, and he's got one more up there in Soto. But then he's really kind of stuck. You know, after he can catch, if he can catch and pass Soto, it's kind of in no man's land after that.
Yeah, initially I said he might catch up to Gooch and Flanagan. That was wrong. And then I said he might catch up to Angelo. And to be fair, in my defense, if he hadn't had that long pit stop, he would have probably been close to Angelo by the end of this race. But you're absolutely right, he is just going to be in a very boring race once he gets past Soto. this one will be for 8th place overall. No extra points, but still some good fun for him. Let's see if the Argentinian puts up any fight.
Yeah, this is, you know, obviously I came in about 30 minutes late, and I do apologize for that. Actually, later than that. But the racing I've seen so far from these drivers has been really on point. And what I'm seeing right now, you can see, obviously, Nyland and Carlson back there in 18th and 19th, but the classes that these drivers have been put in the FindingSpeed League is really actually pretty good. And you can see how the, you know, obviously gold being pro and silver being AM, it's really impressive to see how well that these classes are lining up right now.
Absolutely, and of course as a broadcaster it's very satisfying to see that. As a league organizer, I have been on the receiving end of those class divisions, and it is wonderful to see as Knudsen, as he got him this time. Peck moves back alongside. It's Knudsen carrying more speed. They become within inches of making contact. But after all of that, it is Knudsen who gets a toe ahead.
For now.
But yeah, it's not over. Look at Volkner as well. Volkner's been, well, I haven't barely seen Volkner all race, but he's got good pace. He's 2 seconds a lap faster than these drivers right now, partially because they're battling so much. And so rather than battling one another, they are going to have the German driver soon be overtaking them. So much more pace carried through by Volkner through the kink. He had a clear run at it, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of defense there from Peck. But Volkner is going to hesitate a little bit. These guys are in their own little battle, and Volkner's got to be careful not to get caught up in an instant.
Yeah, so great driving. Looks like Morgan up there may have just made a move on Soto. I think he has. Yep, and there's that 8th position that unfortunately appears, as Soto's flashing his lights, appears that Morgan may be staying in for the rest of the race, unless, of course, I'm going to commentator's curse somebody by saying this, but you know, there are always chances for incidents in front of Morgan, so it's not over until that checkered flag flies and your car is across that line.
Just, oh, here we go.
Oh my goodness!
Oh
my
he's
goodness!
defending a little bit late there. Was that a block, perhaps, from Knudsen? Was that in reaction to the attempted move? It was certainly pushing it to the limit, and now Volkner is getting alongside. It surely got to be advantageous here for Peck just to let Volkner go and then hopefully put Knudsen offline. But Volkner's not even fighting this one. He lifted off halfway down the straight and letting Peck keep that position. Doesn't really want to interfere with this one too much. Absolutely getting wide, and maybe another 1x as well being accumulated. Out in the lead, just keep an eye on that gap. We don't necessarily need to change the cameras to the top 2 yet, because it's still just 1.5 seconds, but it has come down. So yeah, just keep an eye on that one, see if it does come down anymore. If it gets below a second, that's when the toe will really be helping Grebstad get much closer. But yeah, it's this three-way battle, which is the best one out in the circuit right now.
Yeah, we've got Rudd Grand Prix here sitting in the YouTube chat. Said with 10 minutes to go, Fletcher is unstoppable. Well, looking at the moment like he is, but as we mentioned, as we start getting closer to the end of this race, you wonder how hard Fletcher has run that car to get that gap to 1.6 seconds, and if those tires are going to be able to hold on. And maybe Grebstad has just kind of held on for maybe tried to save what little tires they are going to have after this hour-long race.
Yeah, of course, he took so little fuel. Both of them took barely any fuel. And it'll be interesting as well if we maybe get close to doing an extra lap, whether they would have considered that or whether they might come up short. But I don't think we're close to an extra lap. It looks like it's just going to be 2 more after this one. Don't think the calculations were going to be close because they've still got a fair bit of the lap to go. But Chala is now defending against Hopkins, who breaks extremely early there for turn 2, loses a few car lengths to his rival. They are still fairly close to Soto, but that hasn't really helped them. They have now dropped back. In fact, Soto had a dreadful lap, so Soto lost 8 seconds that last time, and I was confused because Soto was battling Morgan, of course, earlier on, but he's had some kind of issue. I think the Argentinian should be able to pull away from these guys, but he had some kind of spin or off, and that is why he is a little bit detached. That's why he's behind Bacon as well.
Yeah, well, still, you know, car still looks pretty clean. So, oh no! What was that?
Oh, it was
Volkner and
and Knudson's off the circuit as well somewhere. There he
oh
is.
no!
Oh, they must have come together. They must have come together. So
Well,
Knudson's
we're about to
ahead
find
here,
out.
Mr. Towman, and Peck on the insides. Oh, well, has he turned in there? Was it a
Oh.
late beep from Peck? And then obviously, you could see it from a mile away, the 125 getting involved. Volkner does get past the pair of them, but with a bit of damage.
Well, as you mentioned, maybe Volkner was just sitting back there and letting Peck and Knudsen go at it, or Peck and Knudsen go at it, and it ended up working in his favor.
Wonder if that would have been an extra 4x. I'm constantly obsessed by the incidents. Will that 4x maybe push them over the limit as well? If it was a 4x, that contact may not have been hard enough to trigger it. But,
I don't want to say anything right now, but past this Volkner, Knudsen, and Peck incident, this gap between Fletcher and Grebstad is definitely coming down now.
Yeah, 1.2. I don't know if you have maybe have more experience in the GT3s than I do, but would the draft be kicking in from this far back?
I mean, it might a little bit. I don't have that much experience in them. I mean, my kind of rule of thumb, just really for... Oh, and who is this? Dennis Carter, also off the track. These guys are starting. I'm wondering if these tires are just wearing out quicker than they expected.
Good shout. It's a very good shout. Track getting warmer and warmer as well, so the track probably getting less grippy. So cars down to 18. Yeah, so he did lose a place there to Stein Van Nylen, second place in the Pro Championship. I think Van Nylen will lose that second place in the Pro Championship to Fletcher or Grebstad at the end of this race, maybe even Flanagan again on as well, actually. He might lose that one out, but so credit to him for continuing after the wretched start that he had. But we are moving on. In fact, are we on the last lap? Maybe it's closer with the timings than I thought. No, this is going to be the last lap. They are not going to be able to get an extra lap in. So this is Fletcher versus Grebstad, 1.2 seconds. And whilst Grebstad has been consistently 0.2 of a second a lap faster throughout this sort of final 15 minutes of the race, I think Fletcher would need to splutter to the line in order to give Grebstad any chance.
Yeah, I think Fletcher at this point, maybe Fletcher is probably just taking it easy as well, just getting it around here to the checkered flag. But, I mean, now all of a sudden, Fletcher's actually putting in a bit of a quicker lap, starting to pull away a bit from Grebstad. But, yeah, you mentioned the draft. And, I mean, general rule of thumb, I think, for these cars, and I'm probably going to maybe wrong, but, like, probably a second, I would assume. So it's definitely, he was close. I don't know if he was actually there enough to start getting that slipstream yet.
Yeah, for some cars it's really odd. I remember the Formula Renault 2.0, if you're 0.6 of a second behind, you get 0 draft. If you're 0.59 behind, then you get all of the draft, and it's impossible to defend. So I think in these cars it's a bit more gradual. But yeah, there's all sorts of different models on iRacing. The time is up. We've only got 2 seconds to go. It was not too far away from an extra lap, but these guys have absolutely predicted it perfectly. I'm sure they've got no spare fuel whatsoever. They took barely any fuel to pair them. They've driven a real high quality race. But it was the hanging back, the tactical driving from Billy Fletcher in that first stint to save all the fuel. And he has used it to his advantage. Billy Fletcher takes the final race of the season. He took the first race win of the season. He takes the last one and is with the fast lap of the race as well. That is some way to end the championship. Tom Dadswa, after the championship winning last season, he is going to defend his championship this season. He is the season 4 Pro champion, and it was an under the radar drive from him, but I believe that is 5 top 5s to, in the end, dominate the championship. No one came close to him in terms of points. Congratulations to Altitude Esports. I believe that is their 3rd consecutive Pro Drivers Championship, and this man is going to end in some style. He lost the championship lead with a miserable round at Barber 1 week ago, but he has taken it back in the nick of time. Chris Gooch is the amateur championship winner. and there was no stopping him today. His best performance, certainly of this season, maybe in his FindingSpeed career, and there was no one even close to him in the end. Angelo will finish P2 in the championship, maybe his best drive of the championship as well, but Gooch was just too strong in the end. I think the pair then will be very happy with the performances that they managed to produce. It will be Reagan who round out the amateur podium, as these guys are still going at it. This is Kocho ahead of Knudsen, and I think Knudsen is going to end up second best. Kocho is defending. It's a long run down to the line, or the long way up to the line around this circuit, but I don't think it was a very good final corner here for Knudsen. Kocho would need to run out of fuel in order to give the Porsche driver any sort of chance, and it is Kocho who finishes in P8 despite that late spin at turn 1. Knudsen does beat Peck. I'm sure he'll be happy about that one after their epic battle.
Yeah, that was definitely a battle towards the end. You kind of wonder how tempers are holding right now, because that definitely hurt some cars and really, you know, helped out Volkner more than anybody else. But yeah, Knudsen and Peck back there in 9th and 10th did okay. I mean, that was, I think, the best battle we watched throughout the race, at least since I was here.
I think that's a good shout. Yeah, it was action-packed, wasn't it? We didn't know what was going to happen next between those two. And well, hopefully they meet each other on circuit, maybe in the official series, or of course maybe next season in the FindingSpeed Championship. I believe everyone is across the line, and so we should be able to take you through your final results. Hopefully we might even be able to take you through your championship results as well later on once we go through the interviews a bit, but I'm not 100% sure if that will be possible, but we're confident on the championship results. I'm usually very hesitant, but I am confident. I'm 95% sure about both of them. Billy Fletcher ends up as the race winner there for this final round of the championship, to go with his Imola win as well. Hakon Grebstad in P2, just 1.8 seconds in the end. Tom Dadswell was in 3rd place, confirms the Pro Drivers' Championship. There's David Flanagan, Gannon, who smashed into the wall, but he was flying along despite that. Almost caught up to Flanagan by the end. Morgan, despite starting from the back, finished in 6th place. Then Stein Van Nylen, Christopher Carlson, Timothy Bree, and Dan Morey running out the top 10. You can see those bottom 3, they think took the checker flag. Top of the AMS was Chris Gooch. Another race win for him. He got a few race wins actually across the season, did Gooch. He was extremely impressive and thoroughly deserved the title. Angelo in 2nd place. There was Reagan, Sotte, and Barchala in 5th. By the way, in the end, Gooch got in fact, actually, was that his first race win of the season? I think it may have been his first race win of the season, in fact, but he was always near the front anyway. Yeah, that's surprising, because he was very impressive for the first 3 rounds. But yeah, well done to Gooch on that one. Hopkins was in P6. There's Volkner, Kocho, Knudsen, Peck, Carter, Lynch, Okaranza, Odoms, Gray, and Crouch, who was the championship leader going into this round. I think he will end up the championship in 4th or 5th position. And once again, another shout out to FindingSpeed, and of course, you should check out their YouTube channel, of course, over at FindingSpeed if you're watching on Apex Racing TV. And you should also get on the mailing list for the new Ultimate GT3 and GT4 multi-class league being held by FindingSpeed. Registration starts in May, and the 6 meetings are going to take place from the start of June all the way into August. I think it will be fortnightly, like we had for this season. Will it be fortnightly? No, maybe not. Maybe it'll be week after week after week. You'll have to wait and see. Get on the mailing list and you will get the information first. And you can get on the mailing list at findingspeed.com, where you can see everything else offered by FindingSpeed. I think we can also get the results, thankfully, to Extreme Scoring, who are absolutely brilliant. If you're hosting a league, Extreme Scoring is the place to go. We can confirm the final results. So I believe Tom Dadswell is the champion, like we said before. Stein Van Nylen in second place, kept second place ahead of Billy Fletcher. So that's impressive stuff there for those guys. In the Amateur Championship, Chris Gooch is the champion once again, 6 points clear of Scott Angelo. Bill Reagan ending up in third place. Crouch, despite going into that round as the championship leader, ends up just in fourth place. And a little word as well for the team championship. Ignium Motorsports look like they have come out on top ahead of Altitude Esports and Altitude Esports Blue. So congrats to Ignium there. That was very highly contested between those two, or those three teams, I guess. So we will drag up some of the drivers now, and I think there's only one man that we can drag in first. It is Mr. Tom Dadswell, who is, I believe, the first two-time champion in FindingSpeed GT3 history. Congratulations, Tom, on defending your championship.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was well, yeah. Take us through this race then, because you didn't quite seem to have the pace of the guys just ahead. They were just making absolutely no mistakes. It looked like you were kind of just lacking maybe a tenth and a half a lap. Was that the difference, you think?
Yeah, so at the start, when Akon overtook me, I was like, okay, I'll just sit here, save some fuel. And then he got past Billy as well. And I like fell back a little bit for about a second. And I was like hovering right on the edge of the draft, and then just made a tiny mistake into turn one and lost the draft. And then from then I was just never going to catch up again. So just getting it to the end in one piece from there.
Yeah, it's that was all you needed to do in the end. Even if you had crashed, I think you may have been all right from behind, because it ended up being quite a dominant championship. I think you only got the one race win at Barber, and even that one wasn't especially dominant. So you must just be pleased by your consistency. I think all the results were in the top 5 this season. So just putting in those results, you must be delighted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people like Billy and Callum Regarton, they like couldn't make a round as well, so like, and there's no drop rounds for this, so that helped out a lot, obviously. But yeah, really happy.
Absolutely, and of course next season we're going to have the GT4 cars added to this championship as well. You tempted by those machines, or do you think you're going to stick to the GT3s?
I'll probably stick with the GT3s, to be honest. Never really got on with the GT4s as well.
Well, hopefully you could get a third consecutive championship, and I mean, at least in the ARL championships, I mean, we sometimes we've got loads of 2-time champions. I think we're probably like 6 or 7 times we've had 2-time champions, but 3-time champions is never something that has happened before, I think. So it would be mega if you could defend your championship for a second time. We hope to see you back on track very soon, Tom. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, obviously our team sponsors, Asetek, Freem, Sim Stickers, and yeah, just the team in general. And a special thanks to Mark Fletcher, my teammate for this, for turning up to one race, which really helped the team championship.
Absolutely, because you're absolutely you are right to be furious with it. So, of course, were you Altitude Esports Blue then?
No, I was just Altitude Esports.
So you finished P2 in the championship, despite the fact that your teammate did one round. I mean, that's unreal. Mark should be disgraced. Mark Fletcher, you should be ashamed of yourself. Hope he's listening along. Hope you should be ashamed of yourself. Well, good effort to finish P2 in the championship by yourself, pretty much. And of course, congrats on the Drivers' Championship, Tom. Hopefully we see you back very soon.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Thank you. Cheers.
Tom Dadswell, P1 in the pros. I forgot that, but yeah. So in that championship, then, so his team got 162 points, and Dadswell got 134 of them. The top team was 183. So really, Mark Fletcher just needed to turn up to 2 rounds, and that would have been enough. But instead, he absolutely left his teammate out to dry, and that was poor quality there from Mark.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you guys are you guys were throwing shots across the bow there at Mark, because I'm looking at him right now in the YouTube chat talking away. So it's pretty interesting. Can't wait to see how that one goes later on.
Yes, yes. Yeah, should be ashamed. Is there anyone you'd like to drag in, Adam?
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to talk to Billy Fletcher if we've got the time. Just kind of wanted to see, had to ask him a few questions here. I'm curious. We got Billy Fletcher here with us, the winner here at Road America tonight. Billy, welcome in.
Thank you very much. Hope you're well.
Hey, got a quick question for you, man. So I joined a little later, and at that point, you were behind Grebstad before the pits. You had to have taken just enough fuel, a 16.1 second pit stop, and you only ran one lap longer than Grebstad did. How are you able to pull that off?
To be honest, following when Grebstad come past me at the start, I knew he was quick from the practice sessions, and I'd only had a very, very little amount of practice with the Audi beforehand. I'd run the Porsche before that, but I wasn't comfortable with it. So I turned up 20 minutes, half hour before the race started, just jumped in the Audi. It's what I feel at home in. And I was quite confident with the pace in regards to the race pace. So when he passed me, I was like, I'm not too worried about you. Pass me, I'm just going to use you as a tail light to save fuel. Just saving fuel behind, saving fuel. I could have taken less on, but I had to bear in mind my average being behind him and saving fuel was going to be a lot less than what it would have been after the stop. So I took a few litres extra just in case, and I did only just make the end. I had to scrimp and scrape towards the end of that. That's why he was closing me down, just having to roll off early a little bit. But I was quite happy to throw in that fastest lap time at the end, though, just to show the car had the pace there if I had the fuel on board, I think I could have got away.
Yeah, I was. You basically just answered my next two questions, because you did run the fastest lap on the last lap of the race, while you're sitting here telling me that you're trying to scrimp and scrape for fuel. So I'm scared to know what that car would have done if you weren't trying to scrape for fuel at the end of the race. So with him catching you, with Grebstad catching you, did you kind of know you had that in the bag? You were able to at least keep a 1 second gap, or did you start getting worried there?
Not too. I wasn't. You wasn't. It's any one of the things. If you start worrying about it, I think that's when the mistakes creep in and you start struggling. So I kind of just kept an eye on the gap, and I thought if it starts, I'll keep saving. If it starts getting below 1.5 seconds, and I'll try and start winding it on a little bit. I was confident that even with the fuel saving, I could carry the speed. The car felt so good in the fast corners. It's just typical Jamie Fluke ARA setup kind of thing. The car just feels absolutely planted. And yeah, it was just a case of keeping your mindset. Don't worry about him. I could see he's faster than me. I knew he was quick. Just to keep your mindset. And yeah, once I knew I went across that last lap and I knew I had enough fuel to get to the end, we just wound it on for the last lap just to make sure we held that gap to him.
Yeah, well, you did an absolutely great job. I was mentioning, even though, again, getting in here late, that you definitely looked like the most comfortable driver out there tonight. So congratulations on your win tonight. Anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out?
Big thanks to Altitude Esports and the team sponsors, as Asetek SimSports, Sim Stickers, Frame, and personal sponsor Luxim, and big thanks to Mark Fletcher. Obviously, I heard Daswell's little thank you to him for not turning up for the season. I had the same issue as well this season, to be fair. So yeah, I think hopefully what we'll do next season, me and Daswell will team up, so we ain't got to worry about anybody else.
There you go. That sounds like a good plan.
And I say thanks to you guys as well for putting on a great broadcast, and obviously Russell for putting on a great league for us.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's everything I've got for him, Sam, unless you got anything.
No, absolutely not, apart from congratulations once again. And also, nice symmetry. First race and last race. That's just, yeah, lovely stuff.
Thank you very much. Shame we couldn't hook it up for the rest of the season.
Well, that was Billy Fletcher finishing your race winner tonight. 2 race wins this season, which might be, I think, Callum Carts maybe got 2 as well. But still good effort there. We are also going to have a chat with another championship winner. We have got Chris Gooch in the commentary box with us now. Chris, congratulations. Under pressure drive, but surely your best of the season. And, well, maybe one of your best ever, because your qualifying performance was great, and you didn't seem to put a foot wrong for the whole race.
I think everything just clicked into place for the last race, to be honest. That quali run was probably the lap of the gods for me, just to get into the position where I was, and then just holding my ground throughout the whole race, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you were racing, of course, with some of the best pro drivers in the series. How was it racing those pros? Because obviously you didn't need to beat them in order to win the championship. They didn't give you any points. So what was your attitude when it came to racing those drivers?
Well, I got quite scared at the start of the race because it was all so close. I didn't want to get in their way. I just kind of wanted to stick behind, just follow them through for the whole lot, and just mind my own business really, and just try and keep a nice gap to everybody behind. So it was kind of just maintaining the pace with them as best as I could.
In the early stages, we had the incident for Brack Crouch. Were you aware of what happened to Brack? I mean, when did you realise that he was out of contention?
So I saw he was in the pits. I can't remember which lap it was. It was quite early on, so I knew he got knocked out. Something happened to him. I don't know what happened, and then I saw him disconnected. So that's kind of just put me in the mindset of just take it easy, don't push at all, and just try and keep a constant pace through the whole race. So it was just kind of don't make a mistake and bin it, because if that happens, then everything's pretty much lost then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm sure you'll watch back on it later on, but yeah, Crouch having a crash by himself, and then yeah, his faster pad didn't seem to work, so it wasn't able to rejoin the circuit, which was a shame. Of course, this season is now in the books. Unfortunately, you'll probably get promoted into pro, so it'll be tricky to take the title next season, albeit it is certainly still a possibility. What's next for you? I mean, you're gonna race next season of this championship? Are you gonna continue in the GT3s, or are there any other kind of series and vehicles you're looking forward to on iRacing?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing the next season. It certainly seems interesting, especially if I get bumped up into pro. That'll throw a whole new challenge into it. Just to have to grind it out even more to try and gain my pace up, but just kind of continue on the journey which I'm on now, just onwards and upwards really, and just keep pushing.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Chris. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, a little team of two. Thank my dad for supplying most of the kit, and then my bank account for supplying the rest of it to keep me going. So that's my main shout outs, especially to FindingSpeed for putting this all together, and to Apex for broadcasting it all. Because we're such a little team, we don't really have any sponsors to help us out, so it's kind of us against the world at the moment.
Can I ask where you got the name Mystic Turtles from?
I spent an hour thinking of names, and that was the most random name I thought of, and it seemed really quirky and odd, so I thought it would stand out on any sort of broadcast.
Well, I really like it. We've got another team in another series called Tyrannosaurus Rex, as in WRECK. But I think Mystic Turtles might be the second best team they've currently got on Apex Racing TV. So well done on producing that one, and well done on the championship. Hope to see you back soon.
Thanks. I hope to speak to you again maybe next season if all goes well.
Excellent. That was Chris Gooch there, your champion in the GT in the amateur category, and yeah, your race winner tonight as well. Adam, I think we have one more interview lined up.
Yeah, we do. Looks like we've got Hakon Grebstad. Gonna be dragging him in here real quick, and welcome in, Hakon. And man, you got close. I think the pit stop really is what was the difference maker there. Your 18-second stop compared to Billy's 16-second stop.
Yeah, 100%. He was definitely he was able to save fuel behind me, and I kind of accepted that. As long as we were able to drop Dad's well, I was pretty happy with that. It didn't seem like he wanted to get in front, so I basically just had to push as hard as I could and hope that he wasn't able to save as much. But obviously he was.
Well, I mean, nonetheless, it was still a great drive by you tonight. After the pit stops there, towards the last few laps, you started catching Billy again, and we were kind of wondering, what was going on. He said he was saving just a little bit of fuel, maybe actually didn't put enough in. Did you ever think there would be a chance that you were able to get back up to his back bumper?
I mean, I got really, really close with like 1 lap to go. I think it was down to like 1.2 seconds for a little bit there. I was pushing really, really hard and ended up getting 16x before the last lap. So I just had to back off and kind of play it safe for the last lap to not get disqualified.
Well, still a great drive by you today. Really can't complain, man. You were kind of out there. You and Billy were out there in a race of your own pretty much for most of the day. So congratulations on that. But anybody you want to thank, anybody you want to shout out for making this happen for you?
I just gotta give a shout out to my team, Big Name Motorsport, and all the guys in that, and yeah, the organizers. It's been a fun league. Sadly, I missed out on Barber, so I'm not sure where I ended up in the overall championship after that. But yeah, it's been fun.
Well, obviously, this is the end of the season today, but are you looking forward to, or are you planning on coming back to this series again next season?
Yeah, we'll see how it checks out with other leagues and BLM and stuff. But yeah, I'll try and make it for next season. Yeah.
Well, we'll hope to see you back with the kind of racing that I saw tonight, man. It'd be a shame to not see that anymore. But anyways, Hakon, thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So we have gone through all of the driver interviews. A quick word as well. In the teams championship, we've already said how Ignium Motorsports took the championship, but of course that team constructed of Hakon Grevstad and Stein Van Nylen. So congratulations to those guys. But we will drag up now our series organizer. It's Mr. Russell Buzz. Welcome, Russell. Another championship in the books, and I think a very successful one.
Yeah, really, really pleased with that how it turned out. We've had some really great racing this season. A little bit of a scrappy race to finish us off, but some really exciting action, pretty much throughout the field. Really, it's really, really pleased to have a new AM champion. And we've got a new team championship winner as well. So it's nice to see that Altitude Esports doesn't win everything. So that's good.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Dadswell, though, I think that's now 3 wins in a row for Altitude Esports in the Drivers' Championship, 2 in a row for Tom. I mean, it's quite satisfying when you got a driver who maybe wasn't the fastest at every round. I mean, he only won 1 round. But just the consistency, I mean, he's sort of a good demonstration on how to win a title.
Yeah, amazing. I'm gonna have to give them like some kind of commemorative cup or something. I think those back-to-back wins are really impressive. But those guys work really hard. They put in the hours, and it really pays off. So it just goes to show practice makes perfect.
Definitely. We, of course, have mentioned a couple of times in the broadcast about the new championship that's going to be launching in the summer. I mean, what details can you give about what's going to be involved in it?
Yeah, well, it's super exciting. It's a new championship, so we are going to be back for season 5 of the GT3 league, like later in the year. But the GT Challenge is a new championship. It's multi-class, so GT3 and GT4. We are going to be keeping it to a relatively similar kind of format, so it's going to be hour-long races, and we're going to be following the British GT Championship format. So we are visiting all the locations of British GT this season, and that obviously kicked off earlier in the month. So we're going to be going to Silverstone, we're going to be going to Donington, we're actually going to be going to Spa because the championship does go there, and we'll be finishing at Brands Hatch. So there's going to be 6 races in all. 5 of them will be broadcast, and I'm hoping to have Pro and Am
categories in each driver class. So yeah, if you're interested, please do sign up to the mailing list at FindingSpeed.com, and you'll be first to hear when registration opens, with all the details, all the rules and regulations, all that good stuff that we like to pour over.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I always like the series which recreate real life championships and visit all the same circuits. So that will be a really cool championship to take parts in. Of course, you're doing a lot of other stuff as well for Finding Speed with like the tutorials. I don't know if you've got any other special events, but yeah, I mean, is there anything else that sort of the viewers should know about Finding Speed in the next sort of couple of months?
Yeah, absolutely. We are carrying on with our community races, and in June we will be visiting Watkins Glen. Obviously, the iRacing special events calendar that takes us all over from Daytona to Spa and pretty much anywhere you can imagine. We are following that schedule. So the weekend before the official iRacing special event, we're doing warm-up events, 2-hour races where you can really put your practice to the test, do a full double stint, so 2 hours, and we've got prizes every race. It will be broadcast with you guys, which is awesome. So the next one is at Watkins Glen, and that's in June, and you can find all the details at FindingSpeed.com. So if you're in a team, or if you're going to be taking part in the official events, it's a great practice and it's a great way to get on a broadcast, because we're not all pro drivers and we can't all get on those official broadcasts. So it's a good bit of fun, but also great practice.
Definitely. Well, thanks for once again putting on an awesome season, Russell. It's been so much fun to broadcast all 5 rounds of this championship, and of course great that it came so close down to the wire in the amateur championship in the end. Any other sorts of shout outs that you want to give to other people who can't make the series possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So the sponsors, Asetek, SimSports, I really hope they come back again next season. They're a great sponsor and really appreciate them. Obviously, you guys for putting on great broadcasts every race. Thank you very much for your hard work. And also Apex Racing Academy for providing prizes as well. So the team championship winners all get a year-long subscription, which has massive value for the entire team. That's really awesome. So yeah, thanks to those guys too, and thanks for everyone for watching. It's been really good fun, and can't wait to do it all over again.
Definitely, really looking forward to the future events, Russell, and of course that GT3 and GT4 championship as well coming up in the summer. Once again, thanks for the championship, and hopefully speak soon.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks very much.
Russell Barnes there, championship organizer, and of course do make sure to check out the Finding Speed YouTube channel and FindingSpeed.com as well in order to take part in those community events, and of course also get quicker on iRacing as well. Adam, that pretty much draws us to a close. Really good round to end the season off. I'm going to ask you the really tricky question, and I don't want you to be complaining because we only had 5 rounds. I don't think you broadcasted all 5 rounds either. But do you have like a standout moment from this championship overall?
Well, that actually is a very tricky question, but to be honest, I think I broadcasted 2 maybe of these, and maybe even 1, but we did do broadcast our special event at Sebring. And let me tell you what, that wasn't just a standout moment for me for Finding Speed. That was a standout race. It was a 3-hour race, I believe, and man, it really was just an absolute blast. And watching some of these drivers and how Russell just put everything together, and the skill that was out there, everybody was racing very closely. There weren't that many incidents for 3 hours at Sebring. So it really was just an unbelievable event as a whole. So I would have to say that that's definitely my standout moment / standout day.
Yeah, I think for me, I think Imola was maybe my favourite round of the championship, even if it was maybe for the wrong reasons in parts. But with everyone like coming into the pits for drive-throughs at the end of the race, it was quite dramatic because I didn't know what was going to happen next. And we had the race leader. I think we had Callum Gartson leading the way by like 10 seconds, and then he spun out. And yeah, it was just absolutely craziness, really competitive field as well near the front of the pack. So that was a big favourite. But yeah, also the Amateur Championship as well. Just the story of that over the last 2 rounds, really entertaining to go with it. So of course, hopefully we'll have all the same stuff for that future GT3 and GT4 league coming up later on in the summer. As Russell was saying earlier on, if you want to take parts in that, even if you're just tempted to take parts in it, do get onto the mailing list, FindingSpeed.com. You can sign up to that and you can see when entries open. It should be sometime next month that you can put your name down on the list for that championship. Of course, huge thanks to Asetek for being the sponsor for this series. If you want to get realistic sim racing pedals, then Asetek is the place to go. Go to asetek.com in order to get your hands on their new pedals that they have released. And of course, if you've enjoyed this broadcast, do leave a like on it. Subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Got loads more action coming up in the next few days. I think we've actually got the 3.5 championship coming, maybe, yeah, probably on right now actually, or maybe coming up in about half an hour. No, half an hour? I think any minute now. I think it's starting now, so you can hop over to that now and watch the 3.5s. That's usually very good action. Also got the Spec Racer Ford tomorrow, got the GT3 trophy on Tuesday, and loads of other championships as well on Apex Racing Series. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out our social media as well on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Adam Thompson and from Sam Kumo, we are going to say goodbye for the final time this season, and congratulations to Tom Dadswell for defending his championship and Chris Gooch for clinching the Amateur Championship. We'll be back with you in a few weeks' time for the June special event at Watkins Glen. But for now, from all of us here at Apex Racing TV, we will bid you goodbye.